It's been said that you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's true of the customer too. A lot of times salespeople feel a lot of condemnation when they get the customer to the point that they're ready to write up the deal, but the customer won't sign the paperwork. They won't commit to close right there on the spot. They, so to speak, want to think about it. So I want to talk a little bit about that. The reality is you will not close 100% of the people 100% of the time right there on the spot. So what you should have is you should have a legitimate, solid game plan for following up with customers and getting them back in the door. Again, you can lead them to the water, but you can't make them drink, at least not then. But what we do know is that every horse has to drink sometime. So let's get them back in the door. How do we get more be-backs than what we're doing right now? A quick idea for you that might help. One idea to get more be-backs is to follow up with your customer sooner than you're doing right now. I believe that you can actually follow up with the customer within an hour of the time that they leave your dealership. When the customer leaves the dealership for whatever reason, it ends up being that they want to think about it, or they just want time, or they still want to shop around, or they just want to compare some things, or they still want to do some research, or pray about it, whatever the reason. When they leave, don't hesitate to call that customer back within an hour. If you don't feel comfortable calling them back yourself and just touching base with them and seeing if they have any further questions, which is an easy thing to say to a customer when they've left, in a 45-minute time span or half an hour even, if you call back and you say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, the reason for my call was that a lot of times customers who leave the dealership, shortly after they leave, come up with one or two more questions that they wish they'd had asked while they were here, and I wanted to see if that was the case with you, if you had any additional questions for me. They may say no, they don't have any at this time, whatever, but at least you started a dialogue again. Or if you don't feel comfortable calling them, have a third party call back, which means have another salesman or your sales manager call a customer for you. Now when they call, it's very important that they don't call to try to close the customer or try to just say, what is it going to take to get you to buy a car from me? It's more important that they ask the customer about the overall experience or process that the customer went through. This is called a customer service callback. So the example might be, let's say that you reached a customer and you got to the point that you were trying to get them closed and they left. You come to me and you say, hey John, these customers left about half hour ago, would you mind following up for me? What I would do at that point is basically do a customer service callback on your behalf, which means I would call the customer and I would say something like, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this is John Dawson over here at XYZ dealership, and I understand you were working with Michael here about a XYZ car. And the reason for my call was to touch base and see how your overall experience was in working with Michael. You see, I'm in sales and customer service, so I'd like to get your feedback. By telling the customer that I'm in sales and customer service, it lets them feel more inclined to share with me their actual opinions. At which point I simply ask them questions like, how was your experience with Michael? Did he answer all of your questions? Were you able to test drive the vehicle? Were there any further pieces of information that you would need in order to make a good decision? And just try to, again, start a dialogue with the customer. Sometimes just getting the customer back on the phone is good enough. I've got more ideas on follow-up and how to get more be-backs, and I'll be sharing with you those in future editions of Selling One More Car a Month. See ya.